Just 6 months ago, I was 40 pounds heavier. In this photo, 220 pounds at 25% body fat. In this photo, 178 pounds and 11% body fat. How did I lose 40 pounds in 6 months? Well, in this video, I want to share with you exactly how I did it. I want to cover 3 different topics: nutrition, training, and mindset. But before we get there, I want to talk about how I got to be 40 pounds heavier than where I'm at today. So I was 220 at the end of a bulk/muscle building phase. I hired a coach last May with intentions to do a bodybuilding show, and we started the process a year and a half, almost 2 years away from the intended show, with a dedicated muscle building bulking phase. So I went from 205 up to about 215, 218, 220 is where I kind of topped out at, but I would sit anywhere between 215 and 218. And that's kind of my peak weight before I got into the cut. The cut started in November of 2024 in order to give myself or us enough room to lose the fat and get ready for the show at the end of this year. But I decided along the way during the fat loss that I no longer wanted to do the show because of my history with food, eating, disordered eating, relationship to food, etc., which I'll save for another video. But I'm so happy that I didn't go through with that, because the work for me isn't that I can't lose body fat or that I can't bulk up. I do really well with extremes. Eat a lot, bulk up, eat a little bit, shred up. I can do that. Where I need work, where I need to improve, is maintaining a healthy body composition and not going extreme to extreme. So I'm happy that I decided not to go and do the bodybuilding show. But again, I want to talk about the things that I did to lose the 40 pounds of body fat sustainably that is going to allow me to maintain my current body composition for the foreseeable future. And again, 3 categories: nutrition, training, and mindset. So first, talking about nutrition, what did we do with nutrition? Very simply put, we tracked our macros. We used a calorie tracking app to monitor our intake, and we set ourselves up on a calorie deficit of about 500 to 600 calories. 2,500 is where the calorie deficit started, and that lasted for about 2 weeks because my body wasn't really responding. I believe at that point, when I was 220 at 25% body fat, that my metabolic health was not in a great place. I was losing insulin sensitivity. I was tired, lethargic, soft. Training didn't feel great anymore. I just got too heavy, too much body fat for my frame, for my height at 5'9". So 2,500 didn't really work initially. I actually gained a quarter of a pound the first week, and then I lost 0.4 pounds the following week. And then we made a small adjustment down to 2,300 and introduced a little bit of low intensity, steady state cardio, zone 2 cardio. So we went from 25 to 2,300 calories, and we added in 12 minutes of cardio after training, which was 5 days a week, which we'll get to later. The 2,300 worked for a while, about 16 weeks, 2,300 calories and 12 minutes of cardio post-workout did exactly what it needed to do for 4 months. My protein was at 1 gram per pound of goal body weight, so 180. My carbs and fats were flexible, so as long as I hit my calorie target of 23 and my protein at 180, it didn't matter where my carbs and fats were. Then When things started to slow down, we made another adjustment at week 16 from 2,300 calories down to 1,900 calories and added an additional 3 minutes of cardio to each one of our sessions. So we went from 12 to 15 minutes post-workout, and we subtracted out 400 calories per day, which amounts to 2,800 calories total in the week. 1,900 calories was brutal. And this is where some of the tips will come in. But the 1,900 calories worked. It worked really well. Topics that I want to talk about in nutrition are based on how do you navigate a calorie deficit when you're hungry, when you're busy, when you're tired, when you just want to eat. Have structure to your meal plan. Whether you want to eat 3 meals a day, 4 meals a day, 5 meals a day, it does not matter as long as you are hitting the calories and you're hitting the protein per day. But what I recommend is that you look at your day, look at your requirements, and then reverse engineer your day of eating. So if you work an 8-hour shift, 9 to 5, if you work out pre-work or after work and you need 8 hours, well then slot in the meals throughout the day where it makes the most sense. So for a lot of people, it's 3 meals a day with 1 or 2 snacks, or it's 4 square meals a day, no snacks. What I did personally is 4 even square meals a day and 1 little treat for dessert. So I came up with this meal plan based on my requirement and what my typical schedule looks like. So if there's 24 hours in a day and I need 8 hours of sleep, that means I'm awake for 16. If I want to stop eating 2 hours before I go to bed, maybe 3 hours before I go to bed, that leaves me with 14 hours. 14 divided by 4 for 4 meals per day is about a meal every 2 to 4 hours. Okay, so what I would do is there would be a meal roughly at 7 a.m., a pre-workout meal around 11 a.m., post-workout meal around 3 p.m., dinner around 6 or 7, and then dessert around 8 or so, just shortly after dinner. That's my meal plan. That's the meal structure. And if I need 2,300 calories a day and 180 grams of protein, best way to think about it is you just divide that number evenly across the 4 meals. 180 divided by 4 is about 45. 2,300 you could say is about 600, 550, something like that. Let me do the math real quick. Yeah, 575 per meal for 4 meals. Then, once you decide how many meals you're going to eat, how much protein and calories you need, you're going to input food into each one of those meals that you like. It doesn't have to be what the internet says will burn the most amount of fat. It needs to be food that you like and enjoy so that you can eat it every day of the week and enjoy it. So if you don't like egg whites, then don't fucking eat egg whites. If you don't like tuna, then don't eat tuna. But you're gonna have to find foods that you like and enjoy that fit the bill for your macros, your protein, and how many meals you're gonna eat in a day. Keep in mind that the third tertiary kind of thing of importance when it comes to nutrition and sticking to a calorie deficit is your fiber. Fiber requirement is about 14 grams per 1,000 calories. So if I was eating 2,300, you just take 2.3 times 14, and that gives you 32 grams of fiber. So I needed 2,300 calories a day, 180 grams of protein, and 32 grams of fiber. You divide that by 4, and I need about 8 grams of fiber per meal. So that means you're going to need to include into your meals a fruit, a vegetable, and or a whole grain or legume of something of that nature. So my breakfast was typically eggs and egg whites with some sort of vegetable like bell pepper, onions, spinach. My carbohydrate source was usually sourdough bread or fruit. My pre-workout meal was usually Greek yogurt with some protein powder in it, a piece of fruit like a banana or berries mixed in, or maybe a smoothie when I had additional calories, banana, almond milk, berries with protein powder. My post-workout meal and my dinner was always very similar: a lean protein, a low glycemic carbohydrate, and a vegetable. Okay, so you have a template that you can follow, and if you are routinely eating the same foods, hitting your macros every single day, you should see routine fat loss week after week. That's one big tip. Having the same foods or eating the same foods every single day, which requires meal prep or at least some idea of what you're going to eat. So you're not left like, how do I get my protein? Oh, I only have this many calories left, but I have this much protein left. If you build yourself a template, it's autopilot. It happens very, very easily. Another tip when it comes to fat loss, especially when my calories got down to 1900, is every night with dinner, I would have a massive bowl of salad. And that was my vegetable source at the time. You know, I could have 100 grams of broccoli like this, or I could have 100 grams of lettuce with fat-free ranch or fat-free Italian dressing, a few Roma tomatoes or something like that. And I would get this big ass bowl, voluminous bowl of food before my actual dinner, which it was, you know, sometimes it was steak and potatoes or chicken and potatoes with another vegetable, whatever it was. But before dinner, I would have a massive salad, and that would really allow me to chew more, get more satisfaction before then having my main kind of dinner. Another tip, this one's key, is flavored 0-calorie beverages. Ice water, Diet Coke, Diet Sprite. 0-calorie carbonated beverages will really help with cravings and needing something sweet. If you have a sweet tooth, 0-calorie beverages are a game changer. So that's a little bit about nutrition. Moving into my training was 5 days a week, 3 upper body days and 2 lower body days. I had a blend every upper body day of a little bit of chest, a little bit of back, a little bit of shoulders, a little bit of arms. My volume per muscle group was anywhere between 10 and 16, with exceptions to arms. Biceps usually get quite a bit of volume, getting close to 20 sets per week, just because I include volume for biceps when you're doing things like pull-ups, chin-ups, rows, lat pull-downs, etc. You're not isolating your biceps, but you're using them a little bit. So because I count the bicep work in those compounds of hitting back, bicep volume got next to about 20 sets per week. I followed that 5-day plan, upper lower, for the majority of the 6 months, except for the last 2 months probably. When my calories went from 23 to 19, I couldn't quite recover. It was just too much volume. Instead of reducing the volume, I just spread out the microcycle a little bit. So instead of hitting my 5 workouts in a 7-day period, I would spread the volume out and instead hit my 5 workouts in maybe a 10 or 11-day period. Not reducing the volume, but getting more recovery in between each session so that I could still show up to the gym and push things as hard as I needed to. On the same topic of training, pushing hard, the entire program or the entire fat loss, I tracked my lifts. Some lifts continue to go up. For instance, body weight, things like dips, pull-ups, chin-ups, those progressed because obviously as my body weight comes down, my relative strength is increasing. I'm a lighter human, so it's easier to do more reps of body weight things. But other things like pressing, especially pressing, like the incline dumbbell bench or incline Smith machine press, those are always the first exercises to kind of take a hit when my body weight comes down and my calories are low. But for the most part, I tracked everything. I used progressive overload, trying to add a rep or two or a little bit of weight to each and every exercise every single week. Sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't. And what I would do is swap out an exercise whenever it was starting to feel really stagnant, really grindy. I wasn't getting a good connection or stimulus to it. But for the most part, followed a 5-day plan, kept all of the same exercises in the same exact order for 6 months. And I think this is an important thing to understand and know, because part of building muscle, or at least maintaining muscle in a calorie deficit, is getting stronger with key lifts for key body parts that you need to improve. If you're getting stronger with them or maintaining your strength in a deficit, then you're going to maintain the muscle in those areas of your body. Yes, there's probably going to be a degradation in your performance. You may lose some numbers. You might have to take some weight off the bar. But if you can track, you can keep a majority of your progress and maintain, that is a good indication that you're going to maintain your muscle mass as you go through the calorie deficit. Okay? Now, there is a lot of days that I did not want to go to the gym. Food was low, motivation was low. Sometimes when your food is low, you're super fatigued from training. You're not going to sleep well. You wake up the next day even more hungry, even more tired, not wanting to go train. It all kind of snowballs and makes it really hard to stick to the calorie deficit. Understand that fatigue, lethargy, performance degradation, loss of sleep is a common experience of a calorie deficit. If it's chronic, you might need to take a break, slow down, implement some refeeds or some diet breaks. But you need to be able to understand that it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. You're going to look, better and better as long as you adhere to the process, but it doesn't always feel good. And you have to understand that what you want most is going to require some very uncomfortable experiences on the way to getting there. And I'll tell you right now, losing 40 pounds in 6 months it's a pretty fast pace. 1.6, 1.7 pounds on average per week is a pretty good speed of fat loss. And to accomplish that, you really cannot miss. You really cannot miss. And that not missing is where I want to bring up the bigger topic of mindset, because you can have the perfect diet, the perfect macros, the perfect meal plan. You can have the perfect training plan, the right amount of cardio, but if your mindset is not there to execute it, it does not matter. It does not matter. So mindset, how did I harness a mindset to allow me to accomplish 40 pounds in 6 months? I'll put it very simply. I was absolutely fed up with how I looked, how I felt, how my clothes fit, hating the way I looked in pictures, not being the male husband that I knew I could be. I was tired of looking in the mirror and being like, really, dude? Like, really? You're okay with looking like this? You want to look like this? And I just got so sick and fed up with not looking and living up to my true potential. More so than the way I looked, the way I felt. 25% body fat does not feel good. And you know it doesn't feel good when you've had experiences at 15% body fat. Some people, 20% body fat, 25% body fat, that's all they know. They don't know any other way. They're like, I don't know what it feels like to feel better, but I did. And I wasn't okay feeling like shit because it affected how I worked. It affected how I showed up in my relationship, my energy. I didn't even like going to the gym at 20-25% body fat because I'm there to look good and feel good, but I don't look good. I don't feel good. I don't like the way that I fit in gym clothes. I'm wearing clothes to hide my body. I do all of this work at the gym to have a great body, but I don't love it, and I'm trying to cover it up. So mindset wise, I get so sick and tired of the way I looked and felt that I was like, I don't care how bad this sucks, how uncomfortable it is losing this body fat. I owe it to myself to get out of this situation, no matter how bad it sucked, because I know on the other side of that suck, I'm eventually going to feel the way that I've been wanting to feel all along. And I'll tell you, being fit, being in shape, it feels way better than being out of shape at 25% body fat. The other couple of things on the topic of mindset is, how do you deal with hunger? Because again, the biggest reason that people fail in their fat loss efforts is because they get tired, they get hungry, life gets in the way. And again, that's everyone's struggle. Like, I'm a human too. Those things popped up for me too. I had to work still. I got tired. I got hungry. So how did I navigate this? Well, number one, there's no running away from fatigue and being hungry. There's no running away from life's responsibilities, paying the bills and going to work. These are things that must be done. You're going to have to experience hunger, fatigue, and life's challenges. If you keep using those as an excuse, you're going to keep getting the same results, and you're going to stay 25% body fat. So fatigue is the price you pay for making progress. You don't make progress in the gym without experiencing fatigue. That is training. If you don't test your limits, you are going to, there's no way around being fatigued and tired. It's just how it goes. If you're in a calorie deficit, which a calorie is a unit of energy, if you are in a calorie deficit, then you're in an energy deficit, which means you ain't gonna be, your usual happy-go-lucky self. You're gonna be tired. You're gonna be lethargic. Your training sessions aren't gonna feel as good as they usually do. Welcome to fat loss, okay? Now, hunger. There's only so many things you can do. Sleep good, get enough protein, eat enough fiber, drink enough water. You do all those, you're still gonna have days that you are fucking starving. And starving is basically a great sign that your body is synthesizing and eating its own fat tissue. If you don't eat, you will lose weight. And if you experience hunger, that is a surefire way to know that your body is eating its own body fat. So while it's uncomfortable, you know it's working, okay? Now, the other tip that I have for mindset, and this is just me personally, and this is what I think about. This is probably what the average person is thinking. Do I want to be average? The average person is going to quit. The average person is going to find some excuses. The average person is going to say it's too hard. The average person is overweight. Do I want to be the average person? No, I don't. So whenever I wanted to quit, I just thought to myself, if I want to quit, so does everyone else. If I don't quit, then I will set myself apart. I will build that part of myself. I can translate that character building in other areas of my life. If I can control my urges and my body, mind telling me to eat this thing or to skip the gym, if I can control that, what else can I become in control of? I can control so many other things. If I put my mind to something that I want to achieve, I know that it's just a matter of putting myself in a place where I'm not honoring my urges and being emotional with my decisions. I'm being rational and chasing things that are going to serve me best. And in fat loss, the donut isn't going to serve you no matter how much you want it. You know, it's gonna give you a quick hit of dopamine. It's gonna taste really good, but 30 seconds after it's over, you're gonna want more, and it potentially can set you off on a slippery slope of just going off that entire day, which turns into an entire week, which turns into you saying completely fuck all of this stuff, fuck all of the progress that I've made. And it's not that you can't have mess ups, slip ups, or times where you incorporate these fun foods, but the quicker that you can get to your goal and just buckle down, lock in, the quicker you can get out. And that's why I was able to lose 40 pounds in 6 months, is because I just didn't want to make it last any longer than it needed to. Why lose 40, for me, why lose 40 pounds over a year when I can do it in half that time? I want to get out of this deficit and I want to go enjoy my life. Now, it doesn't have to be like that, but that's the way I wanted to take things. Last thing on the topic of mess ups, slip ups, mindset is I am an extreme type of person, and it was pretty difficult the days or times that I did mess up not to let it turn into something bigger. But what I've learned in overcoming my extreme sort of mindset is being consistently good is better than being occasionally great. And what I mean by that is sticking to your nutrition plan, 80-90% of the time is better than being 100% on and then 100% off. Similar to what I was saying earlier, I can go hard on a bulk, I can go hard on a cut, but if I want to teach myself how to maintain and just live this lifestyle where my body composition stays at a good place all year long, then I can't have this extreme approach where I'm perfect every single day, every single week. And then if I mess up once, it's like, oh, fuck it, I'm completely off 100% of the time for weeks on end. So what I did when I slipped up or when I messed up, because it happened a couple times, is I isolated it to that time, that time and space, and didn't let it get outside of that. So for instance, my wife had friends come visit us while we were staying in Oregon, and I kept my discipline, but there was one day that they brought Voodoo Donuts back to our place. My willpower was exhausted and I wanted to eat all the donuts. Now, I didn't eat all of them, but I ate, I think, 2 or 3 donuts. And if you know donuts, they're, 600, 700, 800 calories a piece. When you do 2 or 3 donuts, you can eat your whole day worth of calories in a single sitting. So my 2,300 calorie day turned into like a 4,000 calorie day. And you can't let that day turn into the next day and the next day and the next day. Isolate it as much as you can. Don't restrict on the following day. Just get right back to the plan the following meal, the following day. Okay? Because if you over restrict the following day, you're likely going to set yourself up to over consume again. You go through these waves of high intake, low intake, high intake, low intake, and it can really mess with your mental and emotional health, your relationship to food. So if you have a high intake day, cool, move on and get right back to the plan, because this high day will be balanced out over time by just being consistent. But if you have this high day and then you go low, you're going to want to come back up and then you're going to come back down. But if you have that high day and you just get right back to the plan, it's eventually going to pull down and it's going to balance itself out. You can't be extreme. If you want to learn to live this lifestyle where you maintain the body all the time, You can't let these one-off slip-ups turn into a week, a month, where you just eventually forget about your goals entirely, okay? So that pretty much wraps up the how I did it of losing 40 pounds in 6 months. I definitely learned a lot, but I think my key takeaways from losing 40 pounds in 6 months was it takes extreme discipline. It really does. There's no way around it. You need to be disciplined. It's not going to happen without it. You just have to learn to say no. You have to say no. There needs to be sacrifice. If you want something like losing 40 pounds in 6 months, then something's got to give. You can't just have your cake and eat it too in this situation. You have to make sacrifices and be disciplined enough to say no. You know, say no to the foods that people are offering you. Say no to going out. Say no to temptations to skip your workout, skip your cardio, skip your step count, getting to bed early. You're going to have to learn to make sacrifices and say no to temptations. Another thing that I learned was that accountability goes a long way. Throughout this entire process, I've had a coach, and having someone to bounce ideas off of, having someone to look at data objectively and give me feedback, make adjustments so that I don't get in my own head and make an emotional-based adjustments or emotional-based decisions has really helped me. And the other thing about having a coach is they will often see things that you don't see, or they will be able to avoid negative experiences or things that can set you back before you even see them coming. And that saved me a lot of mistakes and a lot of time, obviously, because it's quite impressive to lose 40 pounds in 6 months. It usually takes people longer than that, but it happened so quickly because I had accountability, I had a good strategy. And probably the last thing that I learned that I'm still practicing today, right now, is balanced and not being extreme. Learning to go with the flow and not be so strict and rigid, and allowing yourself a little bit of flexibility when you need it. It's always a fine line between get it done, lock in, just get to fucking work, and I really need a break. You have to know yourself a little bit. And I, again, want to thank my coach for helping me navigate those gray areas where I'm like, hey, am I being a pussy? Or do I really need to take a break and allow my body to rest and do a diet break and have some refeeds here and there? Take some extra days off of the gym and let my body rest, heal, and recover. It's always a fine line between beating yourself into the ground to get to your goal and, you know, beating your body into getting great results, and actually giving yourself some rest, recovery, more food occasionally so that you can recover, replenish, and come back and continue chasing your goals. So that's been the big thing for me as an extreme person that has an extreme personality, is just learning balance and being a little bit more fluid with my approach and not being so precise and a perfectionist with everything that I do. If you're feeling stuck trying to lose body fat, drop me a comment below, ask me a question. I'd love to help any way possible. You can also head over to Instagram and give me a follow there. Shoot me a DM. I'd love to chat. But that will wrap up the video for today, guys. Hope you liked it. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. I am dropping a video like this to help you lose weight, build muscle, and achieve your dream body every week. So hope to see you stick around. Peace.